Good afternoon and welcome to the third part of the Virginia SBDC's Corona Kickstart webinar series. My name is Tracy Nyer and I'm the facilitator for today's webinar. Today's webinar, Reaching Your Customers in a Changing Marketplace, is one of the educational offerings of the Virginia Small Business Development Center. The Virginia SBDC is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local hosts throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. One of our one-on-one counseling services are available at no charge. For more information or to schedule an appointment, reach out to your local office. If you aren't sure where that is, you can find a listing on virginiasbdc.org. I would like to introduce our speaker for today's session, Kelly Starzec. Kelly is the founder and managing director of Freesia Marketing, where she provides strategic and tactical communication support to clients such as 880 Harrison and Loudon SBDC. She specializes in print, digital, public relations, social media, and lead generation, with a strong passion for helping clients drive relationship with customers. Kelly's more than 20-year career includes working with organizations large and small, with some time off in the middle to be a full-time mother to her 3 children. Prior to starting Freesia Marketing, she served as the Director of Marketing Communications for 2 startup software services, SaaS organizations, Angel.com and Vocus Inc. At both companies, Kelly was instrumental in building and executing marketing plans to drive year-over-year growth, ultimately leading to a successful IPO at Vocus. She has her BA for Bucknell University and MBA in marketing from Georgetown. She resides in Loudoun County, Virginia with her family. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items. We're recording today's presentation and it'll be posted on the Virginia SBDC website. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type those into the question window and Kelly will do her best to answer them at the end of the presentation. Without further ado, here's Kelly.
Thank you, Tracy, and hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be here, and I appreciate your time today. This is the third part of our Corona Kickstart, Recharging Your Marketing and Your Business in the Wake of COVID-19 webinar series. As Tracy mentioned, just to let you know a little bit about me, I've been in marketing for over 20 years, and I've worked at a lot of small businesses, and so understand a lot of the things that small businesses do differently than large businesses in the way they run their business and in their marketing. So hopefully I can provide some of that insight today as we're walking through the presentation. So just to kind of backtrack a little bit and talk about the series that we're running. If you've missed the first 2, that's fine. This can be seen independently, but also we encourage you to go back and view the recordings from the previous sessions. The first session focused on branding and messaging, and that was done by the fabulous ladies at Loud and Clear Marketing, who talked about your brand, which really is a reflection of you and your business and what you want to put out there and how you can continue to promote your brand even during challenging times like we're going through today, and then taking your messaging and how direct, reassuring, consistent messaging can help you keep and grow your customer base no matter what the conditions are in the marketplace. And then Mary Joint spoke last week on audience building, and once you have your branding, once you have your messaging, understanding who are your customers and are your customers changing as a result of the economic conditions that we're in right now. So then that brings us to today, reaching your audience. So we're going to talk about, now that you have those 3 pieces in place, your brand, your messaging, your audience, where do you find them and how do you get to them and how do you, tell them the things that they want to hear? So then finally, after today's piece, Thursday, same time, the ladies from Loud and Clear Marketing will be back and they'll be talking about how to lead through this time, which is also really important in changing conditions and challenging conditions. So just kind of an agenda for today. We're going to talk about what is a marketing channel and why a marketing channel is important. Then we'll go into some market conditions today that are impacting marketing channels and marketing itself, then how can you do a self-assessment of your marketing channels and examples of that self-assessment in place? We'll talk through 2 examples of that. And then I'll leave with kind of some final thoughts, a challenge, or really more of an opportunity for you as marketers moving forward. Okay, so this first graphic is your marketing channels. And basically all marketing channels are your marketing activities. So from the point of production to the point of sale, the activities that go into how you generate the buzz, generate the revenue for your business, make up your marketing channels. So this graphic shows probably really even just a subset of all the many marketing channels there are out there, because there really are tons. But this one's I like this because it was broken up into kind of online, which obviously a lot of us use and is a big deal and right now, and face-to-face. So when we're talking face-to-face marketing channels, that includes like speaking engagements, print advertising, direct mail pieces. And then on the flip side, you go to the online marketing, and that's social media, your website, online advertising. And again, there's many different kinds. Every business has a different mix of marketing channels. There's not necessarily a right or wrong in what you choose for your marketing, but the key is to make sure you understand what's working for your business. So an important piece about your marketing channels is that you understand what works for you. And to do that, you need to measure. And especially with a lot of the online channels, we're lucky in that there's a lot of easy ways to do that. There's analytics that exist that can help guide us through understanding what channels are working for us. But why is a marketing channel important? A marketing channel is important because, as I mentioned before, it really does tie directly to the revenue that you're bringing into your company. And your revenue will many times dictate what your budget is for marketing. So it becomes kind of the cyclical thing. So if you've got great revenue, you have a really good budget, you can really invest in your marketing channels, and then you kind of get the flip side of it. And then, therefore your channels are helping direct revenue, and there you go. So it is really important. One of the keys though, is that we want to measure and understand what's going on with our marketing channels. We want to do that all the time, but particularly now as we're going through this COVID change, going from, everybody staying inside to businesses are starting to reopen, but people are still a little timid, to maybe a little bit more movement towards getting back to our old normal. Things are constantly changing. So it's even more important to stay on top of what's happening with your marketing, what's happening with your channels, to really understand what's working at every given moment and be able to adjust accordingly. Okay, so let's talk about the business reality today. Economic indicators are down. You can watch the news, you can be online, and you're going to see this everywhere. Consumer spending has fallen in March and April, and that's the steepest decline since 1959. Unemployment, last number I checked was 14.7%. Companies are worried about their supply chain interruptions. Half of companies surveyed found out or said that they were worried about that. Projects are being delayed or canceled altogether. 62% of companies are expecting more layoffs. So I don't want to depress everybody as part of this presentation, but that really is the economic reality that we're dealing with right now. And it's okay, we know that. We're also dealing with business uncertainty. 73% of small businesses are experiencing decreases in domestic demand. 76% of marketing leaders are expecting a decrease in their marketing budgets due to COVID-19. So those are some things that businesses are thinking about and challenged with. And then purchasing behavior has changed. So if you think about it, many of us have moved, this one's kind of a no-brainer, easy one, online versus face-to-face. Companies that are offering digital services or sell goods online are seeing this huge surge in demand, like think online grocery stores, versus other businesses that are kind of being pummeled by all of this, travel, restaurants. So we all know that because we've lived this. We've been all staying at home. So clearly we've all, for the most part, been forced to do a lot more online than face-to-face business with the businesses that we interact with. But then there's also things like fear-based versus confidence-based purchases. Fear-based was toilet paper. You remember back in the toilet paper shortage days. Confidence-based would be new car. So of course people are buying a lot more toilet paper than they're buying a new car. Discretionary versus need-based. This is an interesting stat I saw. The bread machine industry has seen a 652% increase in sales. The luggage industry has seen a 62% decrease in sales. So need-based, fear-based purchases, it's changing the way people think, it's changing the way people buy. Then think of your pre-COVID days. We wouldn't be thinking, oh, I need to stock up on toilet paper. Want that new car? Okay, maybe I'll go buy that new car. The other thing that's interesting is that new behaviors tend to become permanent the longer they're in place. So people who say that they're making new behaviors routine, things like grocery delivery. 19% of people said this is going to be part of their regular way of shopping from now on. It's increased 19%. Buying online and picking up in store, same thing, 16% in that case. Carrying out from a restaurant or ordering from restaurant delivery, over 20% for both of those. 1/3 of people say they're now purchasing more items online rather than going to a physical store, again. So all of these behaviors where they started out as short-term behaviors, the more we do them, the more they maybe become permanent, or at least permanent for a segment of the population. So all things we need to think about as we're thinking about our businesses and how we're going to be interacting with our customers and what channels we're going to use. So how are marketers responding to this? And these are mostly reflective of large companies, but I'm showing you this slide, not saying this is what you need to do. I'm showing you this slide basically to say, here's some interesting ways that people are responding and after looking at their businesses. And some of them are obvious and some maybe aren't so obvious. But they're investing in activities that drive online sales. That totally makes sense because that's sort of following the circumstance, but also following what the customers are doing, looking at the trends in what their customers are doing, and then creating opportunities to drive online sales. Reducing in-person activities and finding alternatives. Where we can't do in-person activities anymore, looking for alternatives to create that same kind of in-person experience and interact with our customers. Focusing on brand building campaigns versus short-term sales. This is something that goes all the way back to our first session. The ladies of Loud and Clear Marketing talked about that people want to hear from brands and they want to trust you and they want to know that you're there for them. And so campaigns that focus on that trust and reassurance are what is getting a lot of companies through this crazy time versus just trying to go for a quick sale. The companies are fine-tuning their media spend due to demand-driven price fluctuations. So basically, some things, because online can be priced based on competition or demand, there's actually some cheap opportunities to do some advertising online and like through Facebook and other avenues. So people are taking advantage of that. And then looking at trends in social media and search on related keywords as indicators to inform on marketing actions. Again, looking back, looking at our data, looking what's working, what's not, and then using tools to optimize marketing budgets and in some cases cutting. So I gave you that stat earlier that said people are cutting their marketing budgets, and a lot of them are, but a lot of people aren't. They're just looking to optimize their marketing budget. So regardless of what you do, if you're cutting, you can still optimize, but if you're not cutting, you really want to optimize that budget so you don't have to then cut later. You want to make sure that you're continuing to drive that revenue and drive that growth for your business. Okay, so what does this all mean to you? Marketers shouldn't wait for problems to develop or the market to point in a clear direction before being strategic and taking action. Create a plan to understand your position, monitor customer activities, and plan for marketing changes. So what this is basically saying is that don't be reactive, be proactive. Take a step back, look at your business. That's kind of this identify and explore piece bullet that I have here. The next step would be assess and appreciate. Factor in what your customers are feeling and what they're doing and your research shows that they're thinking, and help that formulate your plan and help formulate where you think you're going. And then accelerate and adapt, which means put a plan together, but be ready to change it and move forward. I'll talk more about each of these steps. So identify, explore. I have some questions here that you can ask yourself as you're going through these steps. And identify and explore is really just an opportunity to kind of take a temperature of the marketplace. It's about understanding what's happening with your business, what's happening with your marketing, what's happening with your customers. So ask yourself, what parts of my business will remain a priority for my customers post-pandemic? Look at where your business is. What's changed about the way people are responding to your business? What products are still doing well? How can we validate new behaviors we're seeing and hearing and gather the information we don't know? That's again going back to understanding and measuring and getting a sense of really what's going on with your business. Has the way my customers interact with my business changed for my customers? What is the new path to purchase? So example, and kind of a easy one, you're a grocery store and people aren't coming in your store as much anymore, but they are buying from you online. So that's the new path to purchase is your online. So how does that change how you market? It changes potentially your message. It may change your customers, to go back to what our other ladies talked about, but it could certainly be changing the channels that you're marketing to them through to be able to make that transaction happen. Has my marketing budget changed as a result of the economic or business conditions? So yes, you do need to go back. You need to look at your marketing budget, make some decisions, and be ready to move forward. Okay, so then we move into assess and appreciate. And this one again is a little bit more focused on your customers. What are you hearing and how can you account for the changes that you're seeing in them and recognize their needs as part of the plan you're putting together? So what concerns will my customers have about my business, or do they have about my business? What can I do to make it easier for customers to interact with us despite their concerns? How can I foster my core customers? And what do I think my business will look like over the next 3, 6, 9 months? This question's a little bit different than the other three, but it's taking into consideration what your customers are feeling and thinking. And again, going back to the first step, where you see your business and making these short-term plans. Doesn't mean they won't change. You're not necessarily going to be able to predict where you are 9 months out, but if you're thinking about it, then you're already anticipating. Okay, the next step is adapt and accelerate. So this is kind of like you're ready, set, go. But being in tune with everything that's going on so that you can adapt and adjust as needed. So what can I do so that I'm able to quickly respond to changing market conditions? How can I optimize my marketing budget to maximize efficiency? What kind of analytics can I use to draw fast, accurate data? Again, going back to that measurement, the only way you're going to know is if your channels aren't working or what your mix isn't working is looking at the data and understanding really quickly which ones are and which ones aren't, and then being able to adjust. And what opportunities exist for my business in the new normal? Believe it or not, there may be a lot of opportunities for you that you haven't thought about. It's not all necessarily bad just because it's different. There could be some really good, exciting opportunities for people in this new normal. So let's walk through some examples of what I'm talking about and putting this all together. So the example here is a real estate agency. Again, real estate is an experience-based industry. So it's been definitely changed by the COVID-19 situation, both from a economic uncertainty standpoint, but also safety and health concerns that go along with that. So if you're a small real estate agent, you're starting at the identify and explore stage, and you're saying, looking at your business and you're saying, you know what, these traditional channels that I'm using are not effective to bring in buyers for my customers. Open houses, people don't want to go to open houses. Walkthroughs, people don't really even want to go to walkthroughs. And street signage isn't effective because we're not having the street traffic like we used to. So things that I, as a realtor, relied on previously really aren't helping me and are worth my investment from a marketing channel standpoint. So what's the problem? So again, we go back and we say, what are our customers thinking? What are they feeling? How can we integrate that in what our action plan is going to be? So obviously, their health and safety fears are predominant in all of this. Partially due to the mandates that the government put out about staying at home orders and all of that. But again, people have health and safety concerns, and that's something we need to integrate into not just how we're communicating, but where we're communicating. So clients, but on the flip side of that, clients still want to see what they're buying before they purchase and have a personalized experience. I mean, most people would not buy a house sight unseen. It's too big of an investment. So how do you do that? How do you adapt and you accelerate your business despite that situation and knowing where you are? So these are just examples of things that maybe a real estate agent would do in terms of thinking out of the box and looking at their different channels. There's a lot of digital listing services out there. You could expand them. You might be on one or two. Okay, now we're going to go on several, because then we can sort of tap into different folks. You could create a YouTube channel and be online to house video walkthroughs. That way people can see the house, but not have to be in the house and have those safety concerns. You could host a live event on Facebook and talk about your house and again, do a walkthrough that way. But also importantly in all of this is show your process of conducting live showings with your safety protocols in place. So create a video, maybe one of the video things you're doing is just a video about here's all the safety protocols we're using. We're a very safe agent to use. Again, extending that brand message through your process and helping support your business despite any concerns your customers might have. And just transitioning to new channels and optimizing new channels that are available to your business. Okay. Second is just a completely different kind of company. I wanted to give two very different examples. This would be a startup software company. So this company is not really necessarily affected by the health concern or the safety concern piece of it as far as their business goes. Most of the time software can be sold online, is sold online. There's not really, it's not necessarily a high touch business. There may be some of it, but it's really more the economic downturn piece of the COVID environment that's impacting a company like this. So when they go back and they do the identify and explore and they're looking at where they are and what's been happening with their business, they're saying their customer acquisition methods are suffering because they rely on things like cold calls and people aren't in their offices. So if they're having trouble finding people, everybody's working remotely. Networking events, which are also not happening. Conferences and trade shows, which are also not happening. People are cutting budgets. Conferences are canceled. These large group events just can't happen. So what happened? So they're going back and they're saying, you know what? Our customer base, our prospects have suffered financially because of the economic impacts of COVID. So people aren't buying because of the economic reality. They're cutting budgets and this is falling into that bucket of budgets they're cutting. So what do you do? In this case, They're focusing on customer retention, retaining the customers they do have, because those customers are cutting budgets too, most likely. You don't want it to be yours. So you already have a customer, and it's less likely they're going to want to switch to something else or leave you if they don't have to. So focus on the retention piece. And then you can also look at what less impacted segments that you have. So for example, if you have one of your segments are customers in the hospitality industry, well, maybe they're not the best customers to be targeting right now, because we know that's a harder hit industry than, say, grocery stores or gas stations, or, well, actually gas stations have been kind of hard hit, but something else. Determine the best way to reach them then. So look at those customer segments. Which ones do you think would be the most likely to continue by, the ones to be most interested, as well as your customer retention, and then do things to promote your leadership and your brand through set up blogs. You can set up virtual conferences, virtual networking events. There's Slack workplaces where people can interact. There's a lot of different things you can do to keep your customers and your prospects potentially engaged with you, and not have to be there in person. Okay, so here's the opportunity I talked about right at the beginning. It's kind of a little bit of a wrap up, but make sure you're staying on top of your changing customer needs, wants, perceptions, and purchase decisions. You want to continually monitor and evaluate where your customers are. Use your analytics, use your measurement tools. Talk to your customers, do surveys. Keep in touch with them on social media if you use it. Just make sure you know what's going on and keep the pulse going. And then that rolled right into number 2, which is continually monitor where you are and where you're going. Explore new ways of working and connecting with customers and prospects, including digitally. So don't get stuck in just what I do now has always worked. Again, we're going to look at new channels, new ways of engaging. Not all new ways of engaging are going to be expensive. There's a lot of ways to engage that are free. So, don't be afraid to look into things and try new things. And, they're not always going to be a huge hit to your budget. Understand the impact of business interruption and continue to plan for the unexpected. Again, so you're never going to be able to predict what's happening, especially now. I mean, even in the best of times, we're never going to be able to predict what's happening. Who in December would have thought we'd be here right now? We just wouldn't have. But, so plan for change, and you'll be able to be more successful if you are adaptable and you have a good understanding of what's going on in your marketing and good understanding of what's going on in your business. And then this is a huge advantage for a small business. Take advantage of the speed and flexibility inherent in the small business model. One thing that big companies are not good at is change. To make a small change in your marketing can sometimes take months, because you have to go through different levels of approvals. You have to go through different areas of the organization. You have to get, approval to change your funds around, like somebody else signs the check. In a small business, you don't typically have those obstacles. So that is a huge advantage for the small business in all of this. So keep that in mind and continue to be flexible and use your adaptability to your advantage to stay competitive. Okay, and my final thought is a quote from Warren Buffett, who is the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, a much smarter person than me and much richer. And he said, "There will be interruptions, and I don't know when they will occur, and I don't know how deep they will occur. I do know they will occur from time to time, and I also know that will come out better on the other end." And I know that you all can come out better on the other end. Just remember to stay on top of your marketing, stay on top of your budget, know what's going on with your customers, and you'll all be great. I just want to mention, lastly, the resources we have available for you. The Loudoun SBDC, Virginia SBDC provide great coaching sessions. Mary Joint, who was here earlier, works for Joint Communications. She does marketing advising. She's fabulous. If you ever need tactical marketing support, feel free to reach out to me at Freesia Marketing. And I think that is it. I have a slide of references. And I'll turn it back over to you, Tracy.
Great. And I want to just add to that, if you're not in Loudoun County, most of your local SBDCs, all of your local SBDCs have local resources that can help you, as Kelly and Mary can in the Loudoun SBDC. So again, reach out to your local center, and if you're not sure where that is, you can go to our website, virginiasbdc.org, and we have a list of all of our centers. So just to, so that you're not concerned that you're not in Loudoun and you can't reach out to these folks. We do have several questions, Kelly. It was a great presentation, but let me go through what we have here. I just started my business in January of this year. I've not had any luck in reaching clients. What do you recommend? I have and still am reaching out through marketing, even with all the challenges that are going on.
Can you read that again? I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just started my business in January of this year and haven't had really any luck in reaching clients. What do you recommend? She's still marketing despite all of the challenges, but wants some suggestions on what else she should do.
Yeah. I would say, again, that the most important thing is to understand what's working or not. I don't know what kind of business you're in, but if your marketing is something where you're generating leads, those are sort of things you can track through, if you're doing email, you can track those things. If you're on social media, you can certainly track that as well. Google, there's a lot of different kind of analytics. So I would, if you haven't already put that sort of thing in place, I would do that and be able to get an understanding of what's going on. It could be also going backwards a little bit, that possibly you need to refine your message, and maybe you're also targeting the wrong folks. So, one of those, I don't know if you have a marketing plan that you put in place, but that's also often really helpful because it forces you to kind of go back and think through all of those things and how they all tie together. And you might be a great candidate to talk to, I don't know if you're in Loudoun County or where you are, but your local SBDC about helping you sort of think through those things and what's right for your business, helping you decide what's right for your business.
Okay. Yeah, she just followed up with it. It's an event planning company and she's already marketed online. I did a live show and I talked about how my business is brand new. I've also had a couple events online, and since nobody ever knew or heard of my business, she's thinking that's why they haven't contacted her yet.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure, it's challenging right now for an event planning business because a lot of events aren't happening. So, I think you're probably caught in that people are sort of saying, well, I'm not doing events right now, so I don't need an event planning company. So I think your challenge is real. But I also think that you keep exploring different ways of getting to people and optimizing those marketing channels, and you'll be okay. You keep plugging away because eventually things will open back up, and just use the different channels available to you to get the awareness out. The awareness is key right now.
Okay. What are the most important marketing channels?
Yeah, that's a good question, but it really depends on your business. You may read a lot of things right now that are saying, go online. And you should have an online presence. You for sure should have a website. Social media is a great way of talking to people right now, but there's really no one way of doing things. Plenty of offline channels are really successful for people. When I worked at Vocus, which was a software as a service public relations company, the most successful channel we had was direct mail, believe it or not. we would do direct mail all the time, and that's where we generated the majority of our leads and the majority of our conversions from leads to sales. So you really never know. So for a technology company, for direct mail to be the most successful channel just seems really odd, but it was. So again, it's again, you got to just keep measuring and looking at your numbers and figuring out what works best for you.
How often should I be looking at my marketing activities? Or my marketing activities.
I honestly look at them all the time. I don't necessarily make decisions on them all the time, but I do look at them pretty often. I would say for things like social media, you know, like Facebook and Twitter and that sort of thing, and some of the online activities, monthly is probably a good time to sort of do, you know, an apples to apples comparison of where you are. You can certainly do it if you can do it every 2 months. You know, if you can't do it monthly, that would be great. You know, like for things like email, I tend to look by campaign too. I'll look after every email I send out and, you know, look at my open rates and look at my click rates and all that. And, you know, kind of get a sense of my on par with what I've been doing. What could I have done differently? So, you know, I would say monthly is a good rule of thumb, maybe.
Great. Are there best practices guidelines about what my marketing budget should be?
There are, but again, I don't want to keep sounding like a broken record, but it kind of depends on your business. I think that if you read online or go researching it, it would say somewhere between 6 and 8% of your revenue, your gross revenue. Newer companies that are just starting out, that are looking to get a little bit of foothold, sometimes will spend a little bit more. But again, it's not so much what you spend as much as how successful you are. So if you don't feel like you can spend that much, that's fine. Look for ways to kind of make an impact without the budget, and you can certainly do that. But yeah, but that tends to be the general standard.
You've talked about social media. What's working best in social media? Video, pictures, what email platform should I be using?
Wow. Okay.
That's a lot, I know.
No. I mean, it's great questions. It's just, yeah, there's a lot in there. Okay. So, I mean, I would say when you're on social media, particularly for businesses, you should be on Facebook, you should be on Twitter. There's mixed feelings about Instagram, but it certainly doesn't hurt to be on Instagram. And then you should have a LinkedIn presence, of course. So that's social media. There's a lot of different email vendors, email platforms you can use. I've used a lot of different ones. I mean, they all can be successful and useful. It's just kind of how you use them. So, you know, like I've used MailChimp, which, you know, you can use for free, and you can still be tracking what you're doing and get some decent analytics out of it. As you move forward, if you're looking for different things and more sophistication, you can move to something else, but it might cost you more money. So, you know, like it's all kind of what you make it, I think, as far as the email vendors go.
Okay.
Hope that answered the question.
Should I be cutting my marketing budget right now?
Not necessarily. So again, kind of what I said in the presentation is it really depends on your business. Like if you're seeing your revenues are significantly going down, that's definitely something you want to think about. But the larger piece is, again, optimizing that budget and making sure you're getting the most bang for the buck, and you understand what's going on and you're using the money you do have to your best advantage. So you may have to cut your budget, but I can't really tell you whether or not you can cut your budget. You just have to kind of look back and look at those tools at your disposal and you know, get a sense of what works best for your business.
Great. I think that is all the questions that we have from folks today. I just wanted to thank you again. Kelly, you gave us some great things to think about today during our presentation. Participants, you'll be receiving an email today with a link to the recording of today's webinar. Look for that either this evening or tomorrow. But before you go, I wanted to remind you that this series continues on Thursday with our final presentation, Leadership and Uncertainty. So this is the fourth part of the four-part series. More information about these sessions, or if you missed any of our sessions in the previous week, you can find those on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Also on our website, you can find the Business Recovery webpage, which the SBDC developed to help you carefully plan for and execute your business's new strategy as you open and relaunch during this really challenging time. The detailed guidelines there cover a broad range of critical considerations. While you can use them themselves, they were designed to ideally be used in collaboration with the business consultant in your local small business development center. And again, we have offices throughout the Commonwealth. If you're not sure which office would serve you, you can go to our website, virginiasbdc.org, and go to locations to find that location closest to you. So again, thank you, Kelly, and thanks everyone for participating in today's webinar.